Monster reveals to us a villain with no inner monologue, no unique traits. Is Johan a blank canvas or something far worse? The question of identity, who are you, is a question of ever-rising significance in modern society, and one that all of us will eventually grapple with. It is a question no one can escape, and is often at the center of our lives. Naoki Urasawa's anime titled Monster thoroughly explores this question of identity, or lack thereof, through the narrative of the character known as Johan, who comes to embody the ultimate form of nihilism. Harken back to Charles Manson's answer to the question of who are you, and our subsequent analysis as a precursor to understanding the complete nihilistic identity of the one who was called Johan. Identity, as defined by the Dictionary of Psychology, is an individual's sense of self, demarcated by a set of physical, psychological, and interpersonal characteristics that is not wholly shared with any other person. It is also related to a range of affiliations, for example, ethnicity and various other social classifications. Now take a second and ponder about what is definitively known about the identity of this character known as Johan. Physically, he is characterized as an attractive white male, blonde with blue eyes in his early to mid-20s. However, these physical traits are not unique, and they are shared with that of his twin sister. In fact, they look so similar such that Johan can put on a wig and women's clothing and become a carbon copy of his sister. He can even seamlessly imitate her voice, personality, mannerisms, and quirks. This is done by design to demonstrate the lack of a physical identity that is unique to this character. As is common practice in storytelling, oftentimes characters have internal monologues to illustrate their psychological state. However, Johan doesn't have a single internal monologue within the entire anime. A view into his psychological state from his perspective is purposely omitted from the narrative in order to continue the lack of any discernible psychological self-identification. Any identifiers of the psychological state of Johan are narrated by other characters upon an outside analysis of his actions, demeanor, and potential motive. Most notably, his criminal interactions with other characters as conveyed through the analysis and interviews of the crime psychologist Dr. Gillen. The interpersonal aspects that contribute to our society are based in our relationships with others and the world around us. Inter meaning from person to person. This can include one's occupation, how one interacts with others, whether they are extroverted or standoffish, selfish or altruistic in their dealings. But what can be said of Johan's relationship with others? To everyone he encounters, he is someone different, representing something different to them, and something that often conflicts with itself. Like a squared circle, he's seemingly a walking contradiction in terms, a self-contradiction of absurdity. For example, to the neo-Nazis, he's a charismatic leader who was born to lead them into regaining their former glory. But he is also the same man who ultimately neutralizes their movement. To Carl Newman, he's a friend with whom he can confide in, someone who can relate and who can empathize with Carl and his feelings of abandonment, but who, at the same time, simply uses Carl as a pawn to further his own plans of manipulation, and ultimately abandons him as well. To Mr. Schuvald, he's a trusted handler, a surrogate son figure, and yet simultaneously, he is the man who tries to take control of his estate and kill him. To Detective Lunge, he is someone who doesn't even exist, a mere figment of Dr. Tenma's imagination, until the moment comes where he must come face to face with the idea that Johan is in fact very real, that the only thing he could trust, his intuition, was wrong. A realization that shakes him to his very core and causes him to reevaluate every relationship in his own life. Next, family, belonging, and what it means to become a monster. Who are you without love or a name?